a term that's been pretty new, is important, and kind of what our role is in disseminating information about crypto. So maybe we can do a mix of like real talk and some jokes. Okay, so to introduce myself, my name is Coin Daddy. I created this moniker October of last year. I've been in crypto a long time, since 2013. I've done well, I've had a lot of fun, met a lot of interesting people. I made this character just because I had been liquidated in a bad trade on BitMEX. I needed a vent, and I needed some art. So I thought, what would be more interesting than creating a persona? So I created this persona called Coin Daddy, and I realized that that name alone wasn't enough, and I needed something to differentiate myself. So I'm going to take my SEC hat off, and I'm going to put on... Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so literally, check this out. Can you hold this 1 second? Panelists, so they can introduce themselves, and then we can get into the questions.
All right, so first off, how's everyone doing? Good. Awesome. My name is Ryan Rotolo, also known as Crypto Fiend on social media. I started getting into cryptocurrencies probably in the beginning of 2017, and I started my YouTube channel in October of 2017. My channel is really based around news revolving around cryptocurrencies, tutorials, really kind of like beginner stuff for all of you guys that aren't greatly familiar. So yeah, you can go check me out over there. And yeah, I'm a rather simple guy, so I'm gonna pass it on over.
You don't have simple socks on, for those who can't see.
Yeah, I have socks.
Those are not the socks of a simple man.
On. Figured I'd spice it up.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris DeRose. I do the Bitcoin Uncensored show on YouTube.
It's important to spreading the message about cryptocurrency, and then if you want to add an extra question onto it, what made you decide to go down this route?
So, personally for me, I think YouTube is obviously the biggest videography platform in the world. And this new day and era that we live in, where everyone's on social media, everyone's online in some way, people don't always like to, open up a book and read an article or whatever. So I feel like YouTube's a big part of cryptocurrencies in that sense of being able to learn what's what, whether it's a review, a tutorial. It's definitely the place the majority of people go to. So it's awesome to have a lot of influencers on the platform that are reputable, credible, and I think, what was the second question?
Why did you decide to go down this route?
Why did I jump into this interesting roller coaster? To be honest, I probably...
Low self-esteem is not an answer.
No, I saw the hype around it back in probably around September of 2017. I always knew about Bitcoin, but not enough. Got in around 2017, saw a lot of YouTubers coming up, and I figured I'd give it a shot, and it worked out rather well, I'd say. So yeah, that's why I got involved, and it is a revolution, so this is the beginning.
YouTube is the place that most people start in this space. It's where they go to get a question answered. The questions are very interesting, I think, in the earliest stages. What is Bitcoin? What is money? And it gets very personal from there even. Like, I think the role of the search engine now has kind of been like a confessional in some senses, where you go and you confess the questions you're not allowed to ask in public even. And then as YouTubers, we have to, I think, take a look at this and provide meaning to the people that come. And we end up being ambassadors for the brands, and ambassadors, I think, to the just general public that has strange questions sometimes, and we then slip into that sort of consciousness and guide them around the space from there.
Follow-up question to you specifically. Was this created originally to serve other people, or was this created for you as a self-expression that grew into serving other people?
Yeah, when I started, I didn't know any of that. I just turned on the camera one day and I thought I'd see who the hell showed up. And I've been doing this for a while. I didn't really receive any training of any kind, or really a lot of us didn't. Nobody kind of sat down. And then over time, you learn the patterns. It's like, I think it's maybe opaque to some of you, but when you are on your side of the table and we're on our side of the table, there isn't a lot of communication. So I don't know necessarily what goes on in other people's heads when they're coming to my content, other than through trial and error, and you see comments and refine from there. But I think for me, it was as much a way of expanding my social network at first, to include more people in it and understand, I think, myself. And now that I have more experience than most people, I see it a little bit different. I see it as sort of how people can find a home or footing or a place in a chaotic world that they arrive with. And it's interesting because in blockchain, I think people have like a need to find some kind of meaning in terms of money or investment or any sort of community aspect. And so for us YouTubers, we have to, I think, present to them what it is that we offer here. And I think that's why it's important, is it anchors people in some sense of their place in the online world and in modern society. And it's a real privilege to be able to help people with that.
Yeah, I think the important thing is you're not going to learn any of this stuff in school for the next like 10 years by the time it like fits in there. So you have to have a place to go to get good information from good people. There's a ton of terrible.
Someone who's in the audience, right, and they want to get this information, what do you think they should look for when choosing who to listen to, and how do you think they can best effectively use the content that we're putting out here, like to better their own lives? Anybody can take it. It's an open question to the panel.
So
what is that? Was that someone in the audience?
Only if you're silly.
I think a big way in knowing if
respond to that, Ryan.
Say you want to follow an influencer, it's not necessarily all about the numbers. I mean, we've seen that in the past. We got a handful of not so great influencers with big numbers on the screen. It's more about the content that they produce, honestly. If it's educational, I mean, if they're shilling a bunch of stuff all the time, that's not necessarily a good look. But if you're learning from them and you can apply that to your own skills in cryptocurrencies, I think that's the main factor.
You know, I thought of a better way to phrase this question. It's when you guys, what do you look for when you watch a YouTuber? First of all, do you watch YouTubers? Anybody?
Absolutely.
Okay, so everybody, right?
Wow,
so what do you look for in the YouTubers that you kind of find a resonance with? And anybody can just throw it out.
Someone who talks in their regular voice.
100%.
Not boring.
Do people not talk in their regular voice? Is that?
Welcome to my channel!
That's the one thing that I always
right?
make a point to do. Pride yourself on being exactly who you are 100% of the time. That's what Chris has been saying the whole time.
So she said content, and then I heard someone say someone who's not boring. So I'm wondering, like, is it the person that you're learning from, or is it what they're saying?
I'll sit and listen to the most boring person if the content is good, and then.
Does anyone have a disagreeing opinion to that?
So, I want to hear what Love has to say.
They have to have a sexy beard.
Well, nobody can compete with you, you know?
Yeah.
Growing.
I'm a little reminded, I think, in this discussion of like what Steve Jobs tells us about the iPhone, which is if you asked everyone in this room what kind of phone they might have wanted, they would have all had a separate phone, except it is the job, I think, of the producer to tell them perhaps what is the law of physics and what we can actually accommodate, and then provide the phone, and then if they do a good job, they'll know it. But it's always hard, I think, to ask the viewers to know what it is they want.
So what type of metaphorical phone would you provide?
Yeah, hard question. I mean, I try to be a peer with people in my audience. I don't know if that's even the best strategy, but my sensitivities go up when I see people who are, I think, talking from a position as an oracle or the knower or the person who has hidden information of the universe.
Like Vinny Lingo?
Well, he's definitely famous for it. But that's the thing, this space is very weird. The people that often do that are very successful. So I think of people like even Vitalik did that for a good while. That clearly worked for him, where he was like this infected seer and he had the secret knowledge. But I don't know that that's actually the way that people should be absorbing information necessarily. Personally, I think find somebody who you can relate to and interact with, because I think that makes the most of the YouTube medium and what makes it different than the traditional network television formats where you're being talked at as opposed to talking with. That's what I would recommend. I don't always know that that's what everybody else wants.
No, yeah, to add something, I think it depends a lot on who's watching. Like, some people prefer the entertainment and the info. Some people just prefer just info. Just like some people want to see trading, some people want to see news. Like, a lot of people here have very different personalities, and I think the people that follow, the people that watch, just prefer that personality.
The one thing that I'm always looking for is engagement with any of the audience. So as a viewer, if I go on their live stream and I start talking to them, and I go on their Twitter and I start talking to them, and they're responding to me, that gives them more credibility in my eyes immediately. So I've made a point from learning from all these great people around me to do that. Engage with everyone. There's not a moment that's too big for you to say, hi, I can help you. If I can, I'm here for you.
Yeah, I second that, because I feel like if you put your money where your mouth is, right? So if you're too high and mighty to answer somebody's comment or a direct message, then you're not. You're just a jerk. You know? So what I look for is content and entertainment, you know, really existing in your truth. If you're just yourself and you talk about what you want to talk about and you're passionate and like what it's good because this, top 3, but they do have some pros and cons and here's why. You know, just being unbiased is very important, and then giving correct information, like citing the sources. You know, education was never really my thing, which is weird because, you know, never went to college, you know, but then I realized how important it is because you gotta be smart, you know, and you just have to really have the audience in mind. That's really our focus, I feel like. Yeah.
So you feel you have a responsibility then to your audience to kind of put out the best content, stay honest, and stay true?
Yeah, because nobody else is going to do it. We got to stand up for the community, because otherwise, if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
Okay. I think another good question could be, what do you think would be some good tips or tricks, I guess you could call it, for people who want to get into maybe vlogging for the first time, and you know they want to get over that courage gap for the first video, maybe publicly put themselves out there?
Just start.
Just shoot like 200 videos. Shoot 200 videos, get your iPhone. iPhone has great sound, iPhone 8. There's apps you can do, tutorials, and just 3 things you need to know is lighting, sound, and camera. Shoot 24 frames per second. If you want cinematic, shoot 30. Just even
that sounds so complicated, honestly. You have an iPhone, a Samsung, download the YouTube app, live stream. 2 button pushes, you have a show, you have a channel, you have a voice, use it. It's really that simple.
Yeah, just do that.
And I feel like a big misconception is when people see influencers, they think, you know, they've been this good all, you know, their whole experience. When I started out, you know, it was rough. My first maybe 15, 20 videos were not the best. A lot of misinformation. I sounded probably like a 2-year-old. So yeah, just seriously start it, and who knows, that could be the one moment where your life could change.
I would recommend starting it with small, bite-sized chunks of content, like 5-minute pieces even. I recommend doing fat tail type searches to see what the demographics are like. So questions are really easy to start with, and answer questions that you have. So like, you know, what is, I don't know, technical analysis, or what is Litecoin? I mean, that's those types of questions I think are often searched. You'll get a good exposure to what people are looking for and what they expect. And when you do that format, like you can write it out in long form, or you can go off the top of your head. There's a lot of forgivingness to it. It's a little bit demanding, I think you'll find, because like you said, the 200 videos, like the more content you do, the better, and that'll give you an idea of what's required. But in a lot of ways, it's not magic. In a lot of ways, it's really just perseverance. So that's definitely of value. But yeah, everyone's quick to mine in this space. Everyone wants to mine, and it's like for me, like, well, why don't you make content? It seems like it's cheaper and easier and more fun and rewarding. I would like to see more people do just hobbyist type stuff like that.
Yeah, it's also a lot of fun being different. Like being a YouTuber is not something everyone does, and everyone here in the crypto space already does think differently. That to me was an easy transition to be like, yeah, I'm gonna make YouTube videos. This is fun.
You know, when people come and they say like they want to mine, and you can tell they're just getting into it, I almost hear a different phrase when I hear those words. And I hear, I want to participate, right?
Yeah.
And people want to get involved, and they want to figure out like what's the community behind it. And actually, I think that I don't know everybody's individual motivations for being here, but the fact that they're even here shows that there's some sort of community aspect to this. And in a way, we're kind of ambassadors of a community. So I think it's really cool that everybody's kind of becoming into this family. So, okay, leading into the next question, where does this go, right? So here we are, it's 2018, soon to be 2019, we're in a bear market. What's the next step in terms of not only YouTube, but crypto? Like, how does this craft evolve over the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years?
I think, I mean, I'm sure everyone is going to agree, we are, you know, in the infancy. I mean, it's been going on for, what, 9 years now, since the beginning, but this is really the start where we figure out how we're going to develop, either through YouTube or cryptocurrencies in general, the proper route to go. And I feel like if we just keep at it, just keep producing quality content, honest content, unbiased content, I think we will be rewarded over time.
You know, I think that as we are in these bear cycles, either beginning to go into them, or in the middle of them, or whatnot, liquidity becomes especially pronounced as a need, a requirement, and the lifeblood of any of these cryptocurrencies. So for me, that's one of my metrics for community health. It's what I like to see in anything that I'm evaluating, and I would encourage you guys to feel similarly. So I would tell you, think of ways to promote liquidity, think of ways to generate utility and make price discovery more efficient. So that includes performing work in exchange for cryptocurrency, running stores and merchant type apps, and then finding businesses that are effectively promoted or able to be done with cryptocurrency. So that usually involves some kind of international payment, and it usually requires some degree of regulatory arbitrage, which I find to be a very productive thing in this space. The little hustles that I've seen people do have just been phenomenally interesting at times. And it's unfortunate because they're interesting because they can't be talked about. And sometimes they're really rote. Like there's a guy in Germany that was running this hustle with Legos, where he would buy Legos in America, and then he would had this weird payment scheme where he was running the Lego arbitrage game in Germany, and it was really bizarre, but it was working for him. He was making great money. Like I can talk about that now.
This guy that nobody really knows called Brock Pierce. That was a good hustle.
That was a great hustle. Yeah. So look for anywhere that kind of friction exists, and see how you can promote that kind of stuff in your community. But that's where I think that everyone should be looking.
Yeah, I agree. Something else, I think in the YouTube space, it's just so small. So in short, I think everything's just gonna grow a ton, right? I think YouTube, we see there's a few guys who are getting close to the 100K subscribers, which is tiny compared to any other market on YouTube. So we're still waiting for our first, 100K, 200K, 300K, 500K subscriber guys. So it's still a long way to go, I think.
I'm just excited about the exponential growth of all the technology that's consuming this dynamic arena that we're in right now. And as the show evolves, regardless if it's your show, my show, we meet each other, and then all of a sudden it turns into a different opportunity. So now, what I had planned for my week has completely changed based on this weekend's situation of meeting these awesome YouTubers. All of a sudden the content has shifted. So to say I can sit here and say in a year I know, no idea what it's going to be, but I know I'm not going to stop producing content, and that's going to be a fun journey. That's really what it's about, is the journey, the experience. So as long as we don't give up on that, the dream of Bitcoin, Litecoin, crypto, that's not going anywhere. It's just going to get told better as time goes on.
Yeah, I have a different approach. I see it, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to be in 3 to 5 years, but where I would like to take it is more to the mainstream in more of a documentary. I've gotten approached by the CEO of Exodus and some other really good projects. Like, hey, what do you feel about doing a documentary? And I feel like the documentaries out there, they're very biased. They don't really know how difficult it is. They don't really know anything about. They do know stuff, but it's more of they frame it in a way where the public views it as a scam. It's not. So I want to shoot a documentary.
Yeah, I actually want to take a little soapbox moment, because that point hit really close to home. Is that everybody seems to be giving their power away. And do you know what I mean by this? It seems like everybody's looking for an expert, and everybody's looking upwards in some kind of I don't know, socially, in some sort of situation. There's no upwards to look. I think everybody's just making this up as they go along, right? It's true, right? I mean, everybody, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just kidding.
Make it till you make it.
What's that?
Make it till you make it.
Well, I mean, or just be making it without faking it as you go, right? So I think that literally everybody's inventing this ecosystem as we move forward. But as YouTubers, as influencers, we're sharing as we learn, right? And that's a vulnerable position, at least for me, because we admit that we don't know everything. But the danger comes when people pretend like they do know things, and that's what you were talking about with the people on the pedestal. So what is a way then, do you think that people can kind of take back their own autonomy, right? Keep your own private keys, that's the whole motto that we have going. So really, how do you think we can kind of break down the idols that are always created, especially around this thing like cryptocurrency, right? This magic thing that nobody understands except the experts,
I think that's the cool part about making content on YouTube, is that it's a lot more personal to everyone. So you make your video, and then you'll have someone come up to you and they'll be like, "Oh, I watched your video. I know this story. I know that story. I heard a ton of the guys talking about." Some guy come up to them and just share something that they mentioned in a video, and so it's a lot more of a closer relationship.
Yeah.
And there's always gonna be guys that try and pretend that they're like the experts. I think it's pretty easy to like if they say if they say they know everything, probably don't listen to them. Yeah.
I think the most important thing is to create a movement and help. I say that because, for example, the first conference I attended to speak at, there was a guy named CryptoCats from Chicago. Never been on a plane before. Got him a free ticket, flew out, just introduced him to all the speakers, had him sit with us, made his day. Now he's making stuff on YouTube. Another kid, he's a 10-year-old special ed, and he didn't know how to do it. So I said I'll produce his first video. Stuff like that. Just like helping them start, and then they can take the training wheels off. Then they'll be their own autonomized channel.
Chris, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, one thing I have to phrase this very carefully. I think a lot of the sort of Oracle mentality has really come out of the Bitcoin camp specifically.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I get how we got there, but there's like these sort of like titans of Bitcoin that have it all figured out, and it's unfortunate because the way that community has progressed at this point is there's not a lot of experimentation being done there, and there's a lot of obedience, which is weird because like it started off with liberty and now it's become a very obedient group.
That's very true.
And yeah, and I don't know that that's very productive. And it doesn't mean that Bitcoin is bad. It doesn't mean Bitcoin's going anywhere. It may just be that's the most conservative sector of the community. And I think even here at the Litecoin Summit, that's particularly apt because all of these communities are going to start competing, I think, in ways that Bitcoin does not want to compete. And so it's kind of nice. It's kind of like a harmony, even, in that I think we have the opportunity here to form coalitions and groups and unions in ways that as peers, we can maybe achieve a greater success than Bitcoin. I don't know. I don't want to say it like that, but it's possible. And it's, it's, I think, a good time for that in the space because we had the civil war in Bitcoin and the factions started. And, I mean, the Bitcoiners aren't really, like the rogue Bitcoin maximalist types aren't really out anymore. And their strategy is to stay home and bunker down. And I don't think it's a good strategy.
Yeah, actually I'm curious, did most of you guys get your on-ramp to crypto from Bitcoin, or did you start with another coin that led you to finding more information? So raise your hand if it was Bitcoin first. Okay, yeah, so everybody here kind of got on.
And that's great, yeah. But then it seems like everyone bought Bitcoin to buy the next thing. And I think that as liquidity improves at exchanges, we're going to see that less and less pronounced. Because my suspicion is that the people who bought Bitcoin did so because they wanted to transfer to like Binance or something, and they would have just as soon put like an ACH payment straight into what they wanted and had less risk. So as long as Bitcoin has that power, then Bitcoin will be fine. And if that gets to erode, then not that we would want that to happen, but at least we would have nice fail-safes and contingency plans. And then even still, maybe something works here in the Litecoin space or what have you, and then in Bitcoin that becomes the standard as a result of that practice succeeding. So that's, for me, that's what I kind of want to see in this phase right now. It's a power vacuum that is opened up.
Anybody else have thoughts on this?
What I always suggest to my mom and her 60-year-old plus friends who are always harping on me to teach them about crypto is don't go on YouTube and look for the person with the most viewers and the most subscribers. Look for the person that you understand clearly. Very simple. Because if your mom is, my mom is from Central America, English is not her first language, didn't do education the proper route, I don't want to sit there and take the time to explain everything to her. But I guarantee you there's someone on YouTube who's already put that message out there perfectly. Just search a little bit longer and it'll be worth it.
Beautiful. Okay, so I guess since we were on the topic of currencies and civil wars and all that, everybody has and you mentioned the word narrative earlier, right? Everybody has their own individual narrative that they've created in their minds. That's like how they think this is going to play out. And I want to go one by one down the panel and just like, entertain us, regale us with a story. How do you think this is going to play out?
I think, now this is just balling in, of course, I think we're going to experience these sort of waves every single year for multiple years to come, where we have these highs, we have these lows, and it's going to be like a roller coaster. A matter of when it gets stable, no one can determine. I think maybe like around 2025 would be a good time frame to say, all right, volatility slowing down. This is a good point where whether you want to cash out or stay in to make a decision on your investments. But personally, for me, like when it comes to like price predictions, I'm thinking maybe 25K for a Bitcoin around January of 2020.
You cheap miser.
Real
25K, we're not here for 25K.
I know, but you gotta be
We're
realistic.
gonna get a new Corolla.
You gotta be realistic. You gotta look at the adoption. It is coming in. We have these institutions coming in, and that's awesome to see. So I think it's gonna be a little longer than we all want, but it's gonna be worth it.
I need some mood juice, somebody, please.
I'm a realistic guy. God, sorry.
I can't predict price, but I can, I think, predict some of the activity that we'll see, which I think, you never know with price, because the price, you never know what whale comes in and sees this and likes it, or maybe someone gets divorced and then money leaves. I mean, the price is like loosely coupled to progress, but not directly coupled. So that's always hard for me, but I can talk about where I think the progress will be made. And what's evident to me is that there's been a number of phases in this space. We've had a phase of the gold bugs, which were early years in Bitcoin, and they entered the simulation of gold bugging. We then had a phase of IPO simulation, where people entered into this sort of ring of others that are a IPO emulating crowd, and they created the ICO stuff. And we had the same thing with private blockchains, I think, where there was like this enterprise consulting phase. And what's evident to me is that throughout all of these, there's some things that have been true. Blockchain technology is the production of bearer instruments. And I think it's that bearer instruments create social forms. These social forms are things that we know in a regular world, things like governance, borders, and various forms of ideas that only exist in the minds of men. They don't necessarily exist otherwise, and they're created.
He means people.
Yes.
But we're in San Francisco.
Not the rendering. So I think that we embrace that more.
The minds of people.
I have to watch the crowds.
Gender is a social construct. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, hey, social construct would work in this theme. You know, like borders are social constructs, and they exist because of the power structures endemic to the people that are creating bearer instruments. The U.S. dollar works in this capacity, and it seems that there's very much a need online for these types of institutions. People are begging for it in many ways, either through moderation of Twitter or video games, or even all kinds of things we don't understand around those themes. So I think that what's nice about the cryptocurrency space is that these little groups have a very good chance of creating rules and processes that affirm some group identity and that create social form online. And I think that the communities that do that best are probably going to be the ones that take this to the next level. And I don't know if it'll be another simulation after that or what. I don't even know if the dollar is at this point an exception to any of this. It may just be that the dollar blockchain
in a simulation, bro.
Yeah, no, I see it. It's so it's funny because in this space I'll see something and I'll be like, wait a minute, and then I'll go to look to see how we do it in the real world. And I'll be like, it's so different. And then I don't know where I end up.
Yeah, it's really like creating this own alternative little ecosystem where we make the same mistakes that we made before, but just do it in crypto. Okay. Next.
I think a lot of people are going to learn through making a lot of mistakes. That's what I think the next 5 years, the next 10 years are going to come through. It's going to be realizing that you don't just throw your money into any ICO and expect it to 100x. We saw a lot of that happen, and people, hopefully they learn from their mistakes, and hopefully we're not going to have that same thing happen again, even though probably we'll have some of it. But I think people are going to learn through making mistakes, and hopefully in time we're going to start treating this like we do anything else in the financial sector, just like you treated any other currency, any other financial investment, start treating it the same.
I would like a price prediction, please.
$1 billion.
Why? Trust him.
See, that was too high. I don't like that. We gotta come down.
But it depends on what year. How close are you talking about?
Okay, sure. We can do 2 points by the end of the year, just for fun, and then let's say by 2020, the next happening.
I think the next happening we could see, man, I can't, like, a lot. Like, if you judge it by, like,
you heard it here first, breaking news, a lot. What's price gonna be? A lot. By now.
If you check out the previous trends, I mean, I've seen a lot of people talk about, like, John McAfee's $1 million prediction by 2020. Yeah. It's a lot, but I don't know if it's necessarily out of the question in, like...
It's not looking good for little McAfee, is it?
no, not by his year. But I mean, I think the price is possible, just maybe not as soon as he thinks it's going to happen.
Awesome.
I think, just shout out to Ken Bosak from earlier, I think he is completely right on what he's talking about is utilization of crypto on a daily basis is what's going to allow prices to get where we would like them to. be, more or less. But then also to your point, it's like we're reconstructing an economic forum just in a digital world. It's not going to go anywhere until it's useful. So until we're all using it to buy cheapo air tickets and we're all paying Uber and whatever, then we'll start to see prices at a very healthy place. Until then, it's just like going and getting euros and switching them to dollars and then to Bitcoin. I don't see an entire purpose until I can buy something with it, until I can use it. When that happens, then the price will be so phenomenal. But $1 million, I don't know. 2 million, in time, sure.
Yeah.
But it needs that one application, that one dApp that's gonna separate everyone, and you're not even gonna know you're using cryptocurrencies. That's all of a sudden, exactly, the dApp Live, Boosto, like, whatever it is, one dApp away, and that's gonna be the one that just takes over the market.
I think you just gave me the name of my next song, One Dap Away.
You just gotta give me a shout out.
Trying to do a collab on that?
What's that?
We're trying to do a collab on that song?
Yeah, let's do a collab.
It's like, only one down away.
Yeah, and we need like a really cool Asian guy to do the chorus, you know? Like,
I forgot what I was gonna say. Everybody gonna buy Corollas?
Corollas!
Yeah.
That's a man with good taste.
I had an answer, but oh well. I think just using it, like me and my cousin, like sometimes like, hey, you wanna go, like, what's up, man? He's like, I don't know, I'll give you like 0.5 you know, and then just scan the QR code, just using it. Price prediction, I noticed that I have no idea, but I noticed that crypto is the only market that is a world currency, and it also is 24 hours, and it also is not linear, it's logarithmic. So if it hit 1,000 in 2012 or 2014, then the next time in 2016, and it hit 10 grand, the next one would be 100.
Nice. Okay, so we have a few more minutes left. You have a Q&A time. You have access to the best and brightest minds in all the cryptocurrency on this panel. So guys, questions?
Okay, I want to hear what was the most memorable comment, either incredibly offensive or just outlandish that you've had on a video thus far. Just anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, the most memorable was nothing outlandish. It was a very nice comment. If you go to YouTube and you type in Coin Daddy Charlie, I did a song where I parodied Eminem's Stan, and I wrote it like a disgruntled Litecoin holder, saying, "Dear Charlie, I DM'd you, but you're still tweeting," and all this stuff. And how about how he sold his coins at the top? Well, let's not talk about that anymore. Yeah, but someone posted the first comment that said, "Coin Daddy, this is the most prolific thing I have seen since Weird Al Yankovic's White and Nerdy." And I thought that was the nicest thing I've ever heard. To be compared to White and Nerdy is a great comment.
Yeah, off the top of my head, can't think of much, but probably just a nice comment was probably on one of my Binance tutorial videos. It's just like a 70-year-old woman just commenting below how I'm helping her get into it, you know, understand it and stuff like that. So it's probably just a rather basic.
That was a lame answer. You know, the thumbs up I got one time on one of my videos. I love every one of those thumbs.
I could probably clear out this room with the negative comments that I received. I'm going to spare you guys some of the worst of them. I think as YouTubers, you'll see that people get drunk and then you write these things, and then like you look at it and you're like, this makes no sense. They're rarely good, although sometimes they are. I got called recently the pseudo-Socrates, which I thought was really interesting because I didn't know that anyone thought that I was the real Socrates, and apparently it's been discovered that I'm the fake Socrates. I didn't know I was presenting myself as Socrates.
You kind of have a Socratic air about you.
I guess so. I'm even flattered by it because I didn't think I did until he said that I wasn't the real Socrates. And I was like, wow, I'm that good.
Yeah, there's a ton of hate comments all the time, but I think some of the best ones I've had was somebody who said that they thought something was one way, and then through the information I provided, they realized that's not really how it worked. That's not really how things were, and so I opened their eyes to that. I think that's the most rewarding thing to me.
Nice.
Hey, thanks. I will vividly recall one very mean comment I got, and it was, how come you don't know every single cryptocurrency that's out there if you're on YouTube telling me about this one specific one? There's 1,900 and growing. There's absolutely no way that any one of us here can know every single one of them, and I don't want to even claim to know. But that was an insight to just go, oh wow, your harshest critic is gonna hit you with something kind of mean, and all of a sudden I started researching more and more and more and realizing I'm oversaturating my thought process now with a bunch of BS crypto that I don't need. So that mean comment actually helped my channel kind of fixate on cryptos that I love. Not that I'm trying to help anyone find out, these are things that I love that I hope maybe you guys think are cool over time.
Yeah, the worst comment I got was like, get the out of here with that monopoly money. And I responded, bro, I got a Corolla. No, no, I didn't respond.
Hashtag Corolla life.
Yeah, and then some of the better ones are kind of like, thank you, I understand. That's all you really need to know. Thank you, I learned something.
Do we have time for another question, Adam?
Hey, Patrick, I think I got a new nickname for you. You can call yourself the real Socrates.
Yeah, so I had just a quick question about the psychology a little bit behind, you know, the holiday season, because last year was when it really ramped up crazy. I was just curious, wanted to pick your brains about the possibility of that happening again around the same time, because I've just had this sensation that it could, but I would like, you know, just some ideas.
I believe it has zero effect on the market at all, to be honest.
I think it has a huge effect on the market. No, I do. I think around that time, you know.
I'm not staring him down. I'm just curious. Tell me what. There's not a fight that's about to happen. I'm just listening.
No, I think around like Thanksgiving time, Christmas time, New Year's, I think it does have maybe not as large of an effect that we think it does. But you know, the psychology of, you know, family sitting down at dinner, you know, you have that one weird uncle talking about it. Everyone wants to get involved. Everyone wants to make money. I think also that's the time when we have tax season, tax returns, you know, Christmas. Someone wants to learn about crypto, give crypto, or whatever. So I think it does play a pretty big effect.
The question was whether or not bonuses affect the price, Christmas season bonuses?
Yeah, he was asking how much this season affects the price of crypto.
Yeah, there's also like football season that starts in Sunday, no, Super Bowl that starts right afterwards that I think a lot of people are participating in using cryptocurrency to make bets and such on. I think that had an effect in years prior, and then that got baked into the price of it. And I think that in like 17, bonuses probably had an outsized effect. And I would imagine that the market would bake that in now in 18 to some degree. But I do think it matters, and who knows how much, or if that pattern can be expected once it's been produced. Finance is fun, but generally means that you know nothing.
I don't know. I think it's obviously possible. I think if you judge like the human psychology, it could be something that happens just because people expect it to happen. That might be one of the reasons for it. Yeah, that's probably how I'm gonna answer that.
I think it's important because we get a chance to sit down with our close loved ones in those times and actually have very close, kind of delicate conversations, because it's not comfortable to talk to your family about money all the time, especially if they're thinking like, why does my son want to talk about money? Does he want something? No, I'm trying to teach you something. Last Christmas was a lot of people getting excited. I expect this Christmas, a lot of people saying, I told you. You know that's going to happen. So I almost think this season's going to have a negative effect because you're going to get scolded a lot. Oh, I lost money because of you. Each year, the cycle will continue. Does it really matter? No, it doesn't. I don't think this season has anything to do with it at all. I think that the timing of bringing family together to openly talk is just a consequence of the time.
I do think the seasons matter because now we're on a world level, and what I've been seeing is, well, two things. The first one is, you know, in Asia, they play a huge part, and there's Chinese New Year. So every year before Chinese New Year, you gotta spend money for your family. That's like their Christmas. They don't have Christmas. So you got Korea, you got, you know, China, Korean people, you know, they pull out to go on vacation with their family, and then that's when, you know, it'll go down. It's happened the past 5 years in a row. And another thing would be fake news. So fake news, people use like China puts out fake news all the time. Don't believe it. They're my people, but don't believe it because they're just causing FUD, everyone sells, and then the individual investor gets hurt, not them, and they just buy back in. And then also Moore's law. If you guys know about that, how the rate of computing power doubles every 1.5 years. So if you keep that into account, then you should be able to understand where it's going to go technologically speaking. Yeah.
I just think there are bull markets and there are bear markets, and if you're in a bear market, there's really nothing that's going to move it back to the bull market unless it decides it's the time to go back to the bull market. So something like an American event, right, like Christmas or holidays, I don't think is really going to affect a global market, like you said, as much. But it probably helped accelerate it last year. I do contend that.
One thing I do think the space needs more of is like an indexing approach. I will say that because I think that like everyone wants to time the market right now, and I don't think that's a great strategy. I think that what should actually perform best for any one person over time is like $100 a paycheck or something, or every 4 weeks you put some money in. And I'd like to see that start to even out some of the market. And there are products coming out that are helping us do that I'm very excited about.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the last question for you guys. Fantastic panel, by the way. I love seeing YouTubers come together, collaborate.
And I love seeing you walk and talk. It's really cool.
Because you guys reach a lot of people. My mailman, my mother, my girlfriend, they all get their cryptocurrency information from YouTube. If they're going to start using it, this is going to get mass adopted. And if blockchain as a whole is going to take the next step, it starts with you guys. And the more you collaborate, the more you team up, the more people you reach, and the quicker we can further mass adoption. So to end the panel, I would like to start at Nathan, and that's right. Say something nice about the person to your right.
Deep into my eyes, sorry.
I'm trying not to say anything that would, become very sensual, so I'll just, that's it, bro.
The Bulldog Cafe, guys, is an amazing place. Go visit. Thank you. Patrick Corsino right here. This young man is one of the most intelligent people I've got a chance to speak with this weekend. It's really surprising because you'll walk up to someone and have an idea of what they're going to be like on YouTube. As soon as I see someone on YouTube, I mentally pinpoint who I think they are. When you chat with these people right here, especially this young dude, he's so damn smart. I'm just gonna have to pick his brain as much as he'll let me, so you're gonna get a lot of emails.
So he's been around for a very long time in Bitcoin. What year, like 2011?
Yeah, 2011.
2011, so really, really smart, really cool to see what it's been like, the journey for him. I think that's probably what I enjoy most talking to him, just seeing what, like, the experiences he's had, because he's been through the bulls and the bears plenty of time.
The old man of blockchain.
Yeah.
You're new. But you're from Florida, which I really appreciate. I think bringing that swamp pride out on YouTube.
Not a redneck.
Oh, but you can develop it a little bit on camera. Feel it out. It exists in all of us at some level. We got an ATV maybe. Feel the wind in your face. Where do I go? Try it out. See, I don't know.
Florida's not like that. Parts of it.
No, I mean, the energy you brought has been wonderful. And you're in school still. My hope would be that you perhaps take some lessons of your education, bring it into the space a little bit more. Because you seem like you have a lot of potential there. And yeah, no problem.
Coin Daddy. I like your beard.
Thank you.
No, seriously, Coin Daddy, he makes music videos, stuff like that. He's a jokester. But don't let this guy fool you. He's a very smart man. I had a simple ride in a van over here with him earlier. And I honestly learned a lot just sitting there and having him talk about a couple stuff. So he's a smart guy.
He's also learned my social security number. Yeah, Nathan, we started off, we ended up with nothing, I guess. And then somewhere along the way on the stage, in between your ramblings and ums and pauses, when you threw out that idea for one dap away, I knew we had a connection. And my respect levels are like through the roof. I'm like Adam Draper right now. So excited! All right. Yeah, man, I'm gonna buy some orange pants and I'm gonna think about you when I do it.
Why orange?
Adam Draper only wears orange pants. And he just bought a second pair recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And to Coin Daddy, thank you very much. You've been great. I really appreciate you. You rock. All right, guys, thank you.